Welcome to Uncloseted Conversations. Even if you stumbled upon this channel by accident, you are welcome here. The stories here are from my heart, from my soul, from my pen to your ears. I hope that you will stay a little longer and open yourself to the magic of storytelling. Here I write fiction, and though not always aligning with reality, it still tugs at heartstrings. Stories are escapes and sometimes a balm to the soul. So, enjoy your time here, and if reality presses down too loud and too hard, come knock at the door, come in, take a seat, grab a coffee, and just exhale. These are veil-bound stories, and the space is free and non-judgmental. Sit back, earphones or pods in, and let's listen to another exquisite romance. Her siren song broke her bonds. Chapter 1. The Ritual. The ocean had grown predictable. Lyra floated just beneath the skin of it, where light fractured into lazy ribbons and the currents murmured the same old stories. Salt. Heat. Desire. Humans were always loud, even when they thought they were quiet. Especially then. She exhaled through her gills and let herself drift, hair fanning out like spilled ink. Above her, the cove curved inward, a private bowl of rock and water the world had forgotten. She had chosen it centuries ago for its acoustics, its soft echo, the way sound lingered and multiplied. A good stage deserved good bones. This was the hour she hated most, the lull before hunger, before curiosity, before anything remotely interesting happened. The ritual bored her now. Once, it had thrilled her. Once, she had sung with purpose. Once, every voice she took into herself had tasted different. Now they all tasted like static. Lyra tilted her head and hummed. Not the true song. Never that. Just a thread of it, wrapped in something human and harmless. Catchy. Repetitive. The kind of tune that lodged itself behind the eyes and refused to leave. A melody that pretended it had always belonged to you. She felt it ripple outward, vibrating through water and bone and want. On the cliff above, a surfer stiffened mid-stretch. Lyra didn't bother looking. She already knew what would happen. He would pause, frown, and laugh at himself. He would scan the horizon, convinced he'd imagined it. Then he would edge closer to the water, phone in hand, because humans carried their hearts in their pockets now. She waited, counting the seconds by the pulse of the tide. 8, 9, 10. The splash came right on time. He waited out, eyes glassy, lips parted in a smile that wasn't his. The waterproof case bobbed against his chest, bright and yellow and absurd. Lyra surfaced just enough to see him, young, sunburned, hollow in that familiar way. "Hey," he said softly, to no one. To her. To the idea of her. Lyra sighed and reached out. The water nudged him closer, obedient. He extended the phone as if offering tribute. "Here," he murmured. "You forgot this." She took it and let her fingers brush his wrist. A pulse. A flicker of gratitude. Then she pushed gently, sending him back toward shore with a suggestion that would unravel by morning. Easy. Empty. Lyra sank again, turning the phone over in her hands. Cracked screen. Sand in the seams. A dozen notifications glowing like trapped fireflies. She was about to toss it into her growing collection, relics of small devotions, when something shifted above. Not sound. Absence. Lyra stilled. Someone was walking along the rocks, careful, unhurried. No mental static followed her. No buzzing want. No echo of hunger or fear. Just space. That was new. Lyra rose, curiosity pricking like a blade drawn halfway from its sheath. The woman stopped near the edge of the cove and set down an easel. An easel. Lyra blinked. She watched, incredulous, as the woman secured it against the wind, clipped paper into place, and began arranging paints with practiced ease. Dark hair pulled into a loose knot. Sleeves rolled. Bare feet braced against stone slick with spray. Lyra hummed again, sharper this time. A question disguised as invitation. Nothing. The woman tilted her head, not toward the water, but toward the canvas. She adjusted something small at her ears, translucent and sleek. Earbuds, Lyra realized. Not for sound. She could feel the faint vibration dampening in the air, a clever human trick. Annoyance flickered through Lyra, brief and bright. Listen to me, Lyra thought, her scales prickling. She drew a breath, her lungs expanding to their full, supernatural capacity. This wasn't the hook she had used on the surfer. This was the aria of the deep. It was the song that had cracked the hulls of galleons and sent seasoned captains weeping into the abyss. It was a sound that didn't just play in the ears. It vibrated in the marrow of the bones. Lyra let the note fly. It was a crystalline, haunting soprano that seemed to hold the weight of the entire ocean. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. Marina didn't flinch. She didn't even blink. The woman paused. Lyra smiled. Then the woman reached up, tapped her earbuds, and went back to painting. Lyra's smile cracked. Impossible. She swam closer, irritation tightening her chest. No human ignored her song. They could resist, yes, struggle, bargain, but this was indifference. Casual, almost rude indifference. Lyra breached the surface, careful to stay hidden in the swell. She focused, narrowing her perception, sliding past the noise of the world and into the one mind that remained untouched. There. Clear. Sharp. Quiet. Why is the ocean humming like it's trying too hard? Lyra froze. The thought wasn't startled. Or odd. Or afraid. It was dry. Focus, Marina. Light first. The wave doesn't care about you today. The light is shifting too fast. I need more linseed oil. If I don't catch that specific highlight on the jagged edge of the basalt before the cloud moves, the whole perspective is lost. Focus. Marina. Lyra tasted the name and felt something unfamiliar curl in her gut. Marina squinted at the water, brush hovering. She leaned closer to the canvas, lips pursed in concentration. A smear of blue across white. A line of shadow. The beginnings of something alive. Lyra drifted nearer, pulse quickening. She pressed gently again, brushing the edge of Marina's mind. If you're staring, Marina thought, at least have the decency to say hello. Some of us are working. Lyra recoiled as if struck. Staring? Humans never knew when she watched them. Never named it. Never spoke to her unless she invited it. She sank beneath the surface, heart racing, laughter bubbling dangerously close. Shock gave way to something else, delight, sharp and electric. Marina didn't see her. Didn't hear her. Didn't belong to her. And yet, Lyra surfaced again, just enough to watch. Marina painted with her whole body, swaying slightly with the rhythm of the sea. She chewed her lip when dissatisfied, smiled faintly when a stroke landed just right. Salt spray dampened her hair, and she didn't seem to mind. Lyra listened. Not for worship. Not for hunger. But for thought. Too much green, Marina mused. The water's lying today. Lyra huffed a silent laugh. The water never lied. Humans did. A shadow crossed the rocks behind Marina. Another woman approached, carrying 2 cups. She moved with easy familiarity, stopping close but not intruding. Coffee, she said. Elena began to move her hands with a frantic, percussive speed. To Lyra, it looked like a dance of fingers, a silent language that cut through the air. Marina responded in kind, her movement softer, more fluid. Lyra focused her senses. While she couldn't hear the signs, she could catch the low-frequency vibrations of Elena's vocal cords as the woman spoke under her breath, a habit of those who spend their lives translating for the world. Elena, muttering while signing, I wish she wouldn't come out here alone. She gets lost in her own world and forgets the tide exists. One day the ocean is going to try and take her, and she won't even hear it coming. Marina signed something back, a quick, dismissive wave, and laughed. The sound was a bright vibration that rippled through the water, making the small fish near Lyra's gills scatter. Lyra thought. The small one is a sentinel. A guardian. She watches the painter the way I watch a school of silverfin, not with hunger, but with a terrifying weight of care. She won't hear it coming. So, it is true. The painter lives in a world of absolute stillness. Marina's thoughts flickered in response. She worries too much. I'm fine. I always am. Lyra watched Elena leave, watched the space she left behind settle comfortably around Marina. There was no loneliness there. No ache Lyra could hook into. That, more than the silence, unsettled her. When the sun dipped lower, Marina stepped back from the easel, studying her work. Lyra followed her gaze. The painting was of the waves, but not as they were. As they felt. Depth layered over depth. Motion captured mid-breath. Lyra recognized herself in it, though Marina had never seen her. A strange warmth bloomed behind Lyra's ribs. She dove deep, restless now, mind racing. This human was wrong. Broken, perhaps. Or dangerous. Lyra needed to test her. To poke the anomaly and see where it bled. From a crevice near the seabed, Lyra retrieved a shard of sea glass, rare, blue as twilight, smoothed by decades of patient erosion. She carried it back up, placing it carefully on the rock where Marina stood. An offering. A question. Then she slipped away, heart hammering, grin sharp and unseen. Above, Marina turned, frowning slightly as she noticed the glint. She thought. That wasn't there before. She picked it up, rolling it between her fingers. Her smile came slow, genuine. Lyra listened, breath held. Well, Marina thought, hello to you too. And somewhere beneath the waves, a siren who had been bored for centuries felt the first true tremor of obsession. The ritual, at last, had failed. And Lyra had never been more awake. Chapter 2. The Sound of Silence. Lyra did not sleep. She drifted instead, restless beneath the cove, replaying the cadence of Marina's thoughts the way she once replayed her own songs, testing them, turning them, listening for hidden harmonics. Well, hello to you too. Not fear. Not awe. Curiosity wrapped in wit. An answer without an invitation. By dawn, Lyra had decided boredom was no longer acceptable. Silence had become personal. The sea woke slowly. Light crept across the water, thin and silver, slipping into the spaces between waves. Lyra surfaced near her usual rock and waited, coils of anticipation tightening in her chest. Marina arrived right on time. Same easel. Same careful steps. Different earbuds, thicker today, Lyra noted with irritation. Marina set them in place, then paused, glancing toward the water as if listening to something that wasn't there. Lyra felt a thrill spark. Don't flatter yourself, Marina thought. I'm checking the wind. Lyra smiled, teeth flashing beneath the surface. She inhaled. This time, she sang properly. The aria unfurled in full, ancient and layered, woven with longing so precise it bordered on cruelty. It moved through the cove like a living thing, vibrating stone, coaxing memory from salt. Even Lyra felt it, the old pull, the satisfaction of resonance found. Fish stilled. Gulls faltered mid-cry. Marina lifted her head. Yes. Lyra leaned into the note, pressing gently, insistently. And Marina reached up and adjusted her earbuds. Just like that. The song slid off her like rain on glass. Marina tilted her head, brow furrowing, not in surrender, but mild irritation. Okay, she thought, now that's new. The ocean's being dramatic today. Lyra's song wavered. Marina stepped closer to the canvas, feet braced, brush already moving. Still, Marina mused, kind of pretty. Like it's showing off. Lyra choked on the note and let the song die. Showing off? She surged forward, breaking the surface with a soft splash, close enough now to feel Marina's presence like a warm anchor point. Lyra focused, narrowing everything down to that singular, clean frequency of Marina's mind. Why is that woman staring? Marina thought suddenly. Lyra froze mid-stroke of water. Can she not see I'm working? The words landed like a slap. Woman. Human. Weird, staring human. Lyra sank slowly, heart pounding, cheeks burning with something dangerously close to humiliation. Marina didn't know. Didn't sense the water curling around her legs, the magic coiled just beneath the surface. She thought Lyra was nothing. Lyra hovered there, suspended between laughter and offense. She had been feared, worshipped, hunted. She had been called goddess, monster, miracle. She had never been dismissed as a distraction. Marina leaned back from the canvas, stretching her arms overhead, spine arching. Lyra looked away, annoyed with herself for noticing. Focus, Marina scolded herself. Paint first. Existential mysteries later. Existential. Lyra drifted farther out, regrouping. She watched Marina work, listened as thoughts flowed, unfiltered, dry, occasionally sharp. If this wave doesn't behave, I'm scraping it and starting over. Note to self, bring less blue next time. Or more patience. Coffee would fix this. Coffee fixes most things. Lyra found herself smiling again, slow and helpless. She tested the boundary, brushing Marina's mind once more, not with song, but with presence. A ripple of attention. A whisper of here. Marina paused, brush hovering. Okay, she thought. Now I feel stared at. Lyra pulled back instantly, pulse racing. Marina glanced around, eyes skimming the rocks, the water, the horizon. She squinted at the cove, then shook her head. Get a grip, she thought. You're not the main character. Lyra laughed silently, bubbles streaming past her lips. Oh, Marina. You have no idea. The sun climbed higher. The song stayed locked in Lyra's chest, and used and astonishingly unmissed. She no longer wanted to overpower. She wanted to listen. For the first time in centuries, Lyra let the silence remain unbroken. And in that quiet, something dangerous took root. Not hunger. Not magic. Interest. When Marina finally packed up, slinging her bag over her shoulder, Lyra felt the absence like a pulled tide. Marina paused once more at the edge of the rocks, gaze drifting over the water. You're strange, she thought, not unkindly. But I don't mind you. Lyra held her breath until Marina was gone. Then she dove deep, laughter echoing through the cove, sharp and bright and alive. Silence, she was learning, could be louder than any song. And Marina, unreachable, unafraid, was teaching her how to hear it. Chapter 3. The Guardian. The cove felt different the next morning. Not quieter, Lyra had learned better than to confuse the two, but fuller. As if something invisible had been anchored there overnight, a presence that lingered even before Marina arrived. Lyra circled beneath the surface, alert. Marina came later than usual, footsteps light but purposeful. She carried her easel in one hand, her bag in the other, and a faint smile played at her mouth as if she were already mid-thought. Lyra surfaced just enough to watch. Marina set up as always, precise, unhurried. She paused, fingers brushing the place on the rock where the blue sea glass had been. Gone. Tucked away then. Kept. Lyra felt an absurd flicker of pride. Before Lyra could sink back into listening, another presence entered the cove, this one unmistakably human, solid, and loud in all the ways Marina was not. Elena. She came with the wind at her back and a paper cup in each hand. Her steps were confident, practiced. She didn't scan the water the way Prey did. She scanned Marina. Lyra bristled instinctively. Elena handed over the coffee and said something Lyra didn't catch, not in words, but in cadence. Teasing. Familiar. Marina laughed, soft and silent, signing a quick reply. She accepted the cup with both hands like it mattered. She came back, Marina thought, pleased. Good. I was right about the light today. Lyra stilled. Came back. Elena leaned closer now, signing something quieter. Her body angled protectively, her shadow falling across Marina's canvas. Lyra couldn't hear the words, but she saw the warning in Elena's posture, the way her hand hovered just shy of Marina's shoulder. Marina's thoughts shifted, warmth edged with exasperation. I know. I won't wander off. I just lose track of time. Elena said something else, sharper this time. Lyra caught the movement of her lips, the seriousness in her eyes. Marina's smile softened. She worries because she loves me, Marina thought. Not because I'm weak. Lyra felt something twist. Elena straightened, gaze sweeping the cove at last, over rocks, over water, over the horizon. Her eyes lingered on the waves longer than necessary. Lyra sank instinctively, heart thudding. Elena said one final thing, low and firm. Marina rolled her eyes affectionately and signed back, amused but compliant. Then Elena squeezed Marina's shoulder and left, footsteps retreating toward the path. The space she left behind felt steadier. Lyra surfaced again, unsettled. Marina returned to her painting, but her thoughts still hummed with Elena's presence. She thinks I don't notice things, Marina mused. As if being deaf means being unaware. I see plenty. Lyra swallowed. This human was not alone. Not vulnerable in the way Lyra was used to. There were lines tethering her to the world, careful, deliberate bonds that didn't fray under pressure. Lyra watched Marina paint, watched her sip coffee, watched her hum softly, not aloud, but in the subtle sway of her shoulders. The silence between brushstrokes felt companionable. I like the spot, Marina thought. Feels like someone's listening. Lyra's chest tightened. She stayed hidden, resisting the urge to reach out, to announce herself. This was not her domain alone anymore. The cove had become shared ground, and Lyra was no longer certain who held the power there. When Marina finally packed up, she paused again at the water's edge. Tomorrow, she thought, decisively. Same time. Lyra lingered long after Marina left, mind racing. A guardian. A tether. A life that did not revolve around the sea. For the first time, Lyra understood the warning she hadn't yet been given. This human could be taken, but she would not be taken alone. And that, Lyra realized with a shiver of something dangerously close to admiration, made Marina far more dangerous than any songless prey had ever been. The cove exhaled around her, patient, watchful. Lyra stayed within it, listening, not for worship this time, but for the quiet echo of a bond she did not yet understand, and already feared to break. Chapter 4. The First Move. Lyra waited until the tide shifted. She had learned Marina's rhythms now, not through sound, but through absence. The way the water felt before her arrival. The quiet tightening in the air, like the world bracing for attention. Marina did not arrive loudly. She arrived inevitably. Today, Lyra brought a decision with her. She surfaced early, perching just beneath the rocks where sunlight fractured into blue fire. In her palm rested the shard of sea glass she had chosen carefully, not just rare, but old. Smoothed by decades of patient violence. Beautiful because it had survived being broken. Lyra turned it slowly, thinking. Gifts, she knew. Humans understood gifts. But her kind gave offerings to bind, to claim, to pull others into gravity they could not escape. This would not be that. When Marina arrived, Lyra did not sing. She listened. Marina unpacked, set up, adjusted her earbuds. She paused, eyes flicking to the water, suspicion laced with amusement. You again, Marina thought. Persistent, aren't you? Lyra smiled and stayed hidden. Only when Marina turned fully to her canvas did Lyra move. She placed the sea glass gently on the rock, no flourish, no magic, just presence, and retreated into the water before Marina could turn. The moment stretched. Then, Marina noticed. She froze mid-reach, brush hovering. Her gaze locked onto the glint of blue. She crouched, careful, and picked it up. Lyra leaned in, breath held. That is not from the beach, Marina thought immediately. Too smooth. Too old. She rolled it between her fingers, sunlight igniting its depths. Her smile came slowly, curved and thoughtful. Okay, she thought. That's impressive. Lyra felt it like a ripple down her spine. Marina glanced toward the water, not searching exactly, but acknowledging. She lifted the sea glass slightly, as if in salute. Thank you, she thought simply. Lyra exhaled. Marina set the glass carefully beside her paints and returned to her canvas with renewed focus. Lyra watched, fascinated, as the painting shifted, waves deepening, shadows gaining intention. Marina painted not what she saw, but what she sensed. Lyra recognized herself in the curve of foam, the tension beneath the surface. When Marina finished, she studied the piece for a long moment. Then, instead of packing up, she reached into her bag and pulled out charcoal. Lyra frowned. Marina turned the paper sideways and began to sketch. Her thoughts sharpened, playful now. If you're giving gifts, Marina mused, it's only polite to give one back. Lyra's heart kicked hard against her ribs. The sketch came together quickly, confident strokes, no hesitation. A face emerged from shadow and wave, eyes half hidden, mouth curved in a knowing smile. Not human. Not entirely anything. Lyra's face. Not perfect. Not idealized, but seen. Marina leaned back, satisfied. She placed the sketch in a plastic bag, sealed it, then left it on the same rock where the sea glass had been found, weighted it carefully against the breeze. She stood, slung her bag over her shoulder, and hesitated. Your move, she thought, not daring the water to answer, but not afraid if it did. Lyra remained hidden, pulse roaring louder than any song. When Marina finally left, Lyra surged up, hands trembling as she lifted the sketch. Her fingers traced the charcoal lines, reverent, undone. She sees me. She isn't just looking at the water, she is looking for me. She's answering. No one had ever drawn her. She had been carved into ships and myths and prayers, but never noticed like this. Never interpreted. Never returned. This was not a lore. This was a conversation. Lyra pressed the paper against her chest. The ritual had been broken. For the first time in an eternity, Lyra wasn't the one in control of the narrative. She was a character in someone else's story. Lyra laughed, soft, breathless, exhilarated. The first move had been made. Not with magic. Not with song. But with curiosity. And Lyra, ancient, dangerous, gloriously unprepared, was already leaning forward, eager for the next exchange, even as she sensed the sea shifting beneath her. Because flirtation, she was learning, was not about control. It was about invitation. Chapter 5. The Siren's Council. Lyra did not return to the cove that night. The sea carried her far from the coast, down through corridors of pressure and memory, to where the light thinned and the water grew heavy with age. The world above forgot her name down here. That was the point. The court waited in a cathedral of coral, ancient spires grown from shipwrecks and time, studded with bioluminescent veins that pulsed like slow hearts. Sirens drifted in loose spirals, their voices muted, their thoughts sharp and tired. At the center reclined Cora. She was old in a way Lyra had never managed to be. Her scales were dulled, not with damage, but with restraint. Her claws, long, elegant, dangerous, rested idly against a throne grown from bleached bone and gold-sunk iron. Cora opened one eye. You smell different, her thought cut cleanly through the water. Like the surface. Like hesitation. Lyra bristled and bowed her head just enough to be polite. I brought no offering, Lyra said aloud, voice rippling. I came for counsel. A low chuckle vibrated through the chamber. No, Cora replied. You came to be told you're foolish. Lyra lifted her chin. There is a human. The court stilled. Not silence, attention. Cora's other eye opened, pale and assessing. There's always a human. She does not hear me, Lyra continued. Not my song. Not my call. That earned her a sharp flick of Cora's claws, slicing the water between them. Impossible. She hears my presence, Lyra corrected quietly. Only, not a sound. Cora drifted closer, circling Lyra with slow, predatory grace. And this bothers you. It intrigues me. Cora stopped directly in front of her. The pressure of her attention was immense. You smell of attachment, Cora said, voice like stone dragged across reef. It clings to you. Do not insult me by pretending otherwise. Lyra swallowed. She paints the sea, Lyra said instead. As if it belongs to her. Cora laughed then, sharp, humorless. They always think that. They name things and call it ownership. She gave something back, Lyra said, softer now. Without being asked. That did it. Cora's claws snapped shut inches from Lyra's throat, water snapping with the force. Listen to me, Cora's thought hissed, coiling tight. Humans are ephemeral. Their lives blink. Their loves burn hot and fast and leave nothing but ash in the water. You will outlive her grief, but not its scar. Lyra held her ground, though her pulse stuttered. She is not like the others. They never are, Cora snapped. Until they are. The court murmured, old sirens shifting, exchanging knowing glances. Some curious. Some wary. All listening. Cora leaned in, her voice dropping. There are hunters again, she said. Not fishermen. Not fools. Specialists. They track patterns, disappearances, anomalies, sonic distortions. One has been sighted near your coast. Cold slid down Lyra's spine. I've felt something, Lyra admitted. A mind like ice. Cora nodded once. They build nets now. Not of rope, of silence. Fields that suffocate magic, compress it until it tears you apart from the inside. Lyra's jaw tightened. You will draw him closer, Cora continued. Attachment always leaves a trail. And when he comes, your human will be collateral. I won't let that happen. Cora's gaze softened, not with kindness, but with something far more dangerous, recognition. That, she said, is exactly what frightens me. Lyra turned away then, unable to bear the weight of it. I didn't come to ask permission, Lyra said. I came to understand the risk. Cora watched her go, eyes narrowing. The sea does not punish love, Cora called after her. It only remembers it. Lyra swam upward, the pressure easing, the darkness thinning. Marina's face hovered in her mind, not the sketch, but the thought behind it. Curious. Unafraid. Quietly amused. Well, hello to you too. Lyra broke the surface miles away, gasping not for air, but for resolve. The warning echoed in her bones. A hunter was coming. The world above burned quickly. And Lyra, ancient, reckless, irrevocably awake, had already chosen to listen. The sea rolled on indifferent. But Lyra turned back toward the shore. Toward the silence that had undone her. Toward Marina. Chapter 6. Banter in the Mind. The cove was quieter that morning. The tide had settled, leaving a slick stretch of black rock glinting in the early light. Lyra lingered beneath the surface, just out of sight, her tail curled beneath her like a coiled spring. She had been thinking all night about the way Marina's thoughts had brushed against hers yesterday, curious, sharp, unafraid. And, of course, that smile. That impossible, infuriating, utterly human smile. She's going to notice me again, Lyra thought, idly testing the hum she usually used on lesser humans. It fizzled against the invisible wall Marina had constructed with her mind. Lyra frowned, intrigued. This wasn't resistance. This was attention. Marina arrived, barefoot and carrying her bag over one shoulder, earbuds glinting faintly in the morning sun. She paused at the edge of the rocks, scanning the water as though she expected nothing in particular. Lyra had learned to love that nonchalance. More sea glass? Marina thought after a glance at the shard left yesterday, still resting by the easel. Is she a magpie? A very beautiful, mysterious magpie. Stop it, Marina. Lyra laughed softly in the water, a ripple passing through the cove. She swam closer, keeping just out of sight, and let a single thought drift outward. I notice you noticing me. God, Marina thought, smirking, is she courting me like a penguin? I'm not opposed to it. What do I even give back? A fish? Lyra's grin widened. That mental spark, the playfulness, it was irresistible. She darted forward and laid a smooth stone she had retrieved from the seabed onto the rock where Marina usually left her paints. Just a simple gesture, polished and cold under the sun. Marina noticed. Fingers paused mid-brush. She turned the stone over slowly, thinking, okay, another rock. A translucent green one this time. Seriously, is she courting me or is she trying to help me build a rock garden? If she brings a penguin-style pebble next, I'm going to lose it. Lyra caught that thought immediately and felt something warm, unidentifiable coil in her chest. She let herself linger in the moment, curious, teasing like a penguin, yes, but one that sings beneath the waves. Marina shook her head and smiled faintly, returning to her painting. Lyra hovered beneath the water, letting the small exchange settle. Marina's thoughts were soft. Look at her. She's just sitting there. She's ruined your life gorgeous, obviously. Like a Renaissance painting came to life and decided to smell like salt. But she's also a total weirdo. Does she eat raw fish? Does she have a house? Or does she just sleep in a giant shell like Botticelli's Venus? Marina stopped painting. She wiped her hands on a rag and looked directly at Lyra. There was no fear in her eyes, only a playful, mischievous spark. She picked up the green marble Lyra had left and held it up to the light. Marina signed, another rock? Then let her thoughts speak. Is she blushing? Do sirens blush, or is that just a pinkish hue from the sun? You're really paving the way to my heart, aren't you? It was subtle. Silly. Dangerous. And utterly theirs. The cove seemed to hum in quiet approval. Lyra knew, deep in the marrow of her bones, that this quiet mental dance was more thrilling than any aria. Because here, Marina's mind was hers alone to hear. And Lyra? She had never felt such curiosity in centuries. Not hunger. Not desire. Curiosity. And in that curiosity, a bridge began to form. Chapter 7. The Bridge of Hands. Lyra had stolen many things from the sea. Anchors. Chains. Rings slipped from careless fingers. Once, even a ship's bell that sang mournfully when currents passed through it. But this was different. The tablet lay cradled in her hands, waterproof casing scratched and barnacle scarred, salvaged from a wreck that had gone down long before Marina was born. Lyra had cleaned it carefully, reverently, as though it were an offering. She had watched humans use such things from a distance, fascinated by how easily they spoke without sound. Lyra surfaced slowly. Not fully. Never fully. Just her head and shoulders broke the waterline, moon-pale skin gleaming against the dark blue of the cove. Her hair clung to her back like wet silk, eyes wide and alert, as if the sea itself might call her back if she lingered too long. Marina noticed instantly. Her charcoal paused mid-stroke. Her thoughts fluttered, quick, bright, unfiltered. Oh, okay. She's closer today. That's new. Breathe. Do not fall in love with the ocean. Again. Lyra almost laughed. Almost. Instead, she lifted the tablet from beneath the water, droplets sliding down the cracked screen. Her hands shook. Not from the cold, but from the act itself. She tapped. The tablet chimed softly. A neutral, synthetic voice cut through the surf. Hello. Marina startled so hard her sketchpad slipped from her lap. Then she laughed wide, delighted, utterly human. Marina sat on a rock, sketching, charcoal smudged on her fingers. Her thoughts drifted lazily, unguarded. Okay, mystery woman is late today. Rude. I rearranged my whole mental schedule for her. Lyra smiled despite herself. She raised the tablet. Tapped once. The screen lit up. A synthesized voice, soft, neutral, utterly unmagical, spoke into the open air. Hello. Marina jumped so hard she nearly fell off the rock. Then she laughed. A full, delighted, unrestrained laugh that echoed off stone and sea. Oh my God, Marina said aloud, then caught herself, signing instinctively before remembering Lyra didn't see like that. She grabbed her notepad instead, scribbling fast. You can talk. Lyra typed, fingers clumsy but determined. I can communicate. Marina tilted her head, eyes dancing. Her thoughts spilled freely now, bright and sharp, warm as sunlight. Of course she can. Why wouldn't she? Mysterious sea woman with better boundaries than most humans I know. She wrote back. I was starting to think you were a mermaid. Lyra bit the inside of her cheek. If only you knew. She typed again. And yet, you stayed. Marina paused. Looked at the water. Looked at Lyra. Her thoughts softened. Because she never made me feel small. Or hunted. Or watched. Just seen. She wrote. You're interesting. And polite. And you keep giving me rocks like you're auditioning for a penguin documentary. Lyra's grin was slow, dangerous. She jokes. Even now. Lyra typed. Is it working? Marina snorted, then covered her mouth, shaking her head. Shockingly? Yes. Their eyes met, salt air, sunlight, the hush between waves. Lyra felt something shift. Not magic. Not hunger. Choice. For the first time in her long existence, she wasn't pulling someone toward her. She was reaching across. Hand to hand. Mind to mind. Silence to sound. And Marina, fearless, human, entirely unenchanted, leaned forward. The space between them felt suddenly smaller. Lyra hesitated, then lifted the tablet higher, extending it toward the rock. Not touching. Just close enough. Marina blinked. Oh, she murmured, then carefully leaned forward, fingers brushing Lyra's as she took the tablet. The contact was brief. Electric. Lyra froze. Centuries of control held firm, but something inside her shifted, cracked, warmed. Marina felt it too. Her thoughts spiked, startled and breathless. Oh, okay. That was new. She typed directly onto the tablet now, closer than before. So, you trust me with this? Lyra watched her hands. Strong. Ink-stained. Alive. I trust you, she typed back. Marina looked up, eyes softer now, quieter. She handed the tablet back, fingers lingering just a heartbeat longer than necessary. Then I suppose I should know your name. Lyra hesitated. Names had power. Names anchored. Names stayed. She typed anyway. Lyra. Marina smiled. Not wide. Not startled. Just right. Her thoughts whispered, bright and dangerous. Well then, Lyra, this just got interesting. Lyra slipped back an inch into the water, heart racing, grin slow and undeniable. Yes. Yes, it had. Chapter 8. Elena's Suspicion. Marina hummed quietly to herself as she packed up her easel that afternoon, sunlight spilling over the rocks and warming her shoulders. She had that small, self-satisfied smile she always wore when she'd accomplished something. Today, it was the brushing of charcoal against paper and, perhaps, the faint thrill of her new connection. Lyra lingered just beneath the surface, tail coiled, watching. Every moment she remained hidden, the pulse of Marina's thoughts reached her with crystalline clarity. I hope she's gone, Marina mused, brushing stray hairs from her face. I've spent the whole morning imagining what she might say if she could actually talk. Lyra allowed herself a ripple of amusement. You have no idea, little human. Then, the air shifted. Feet on stone. Strong, certain. Protective. Elena. Her shadow stretched over the cove like a warning banner. Lyra instinctively sank deeper, wary of the human's sharp gaze. Elena's eyes fell on Marina immediately, scanning the canvas, the scattered stones, the small notepad scribbled with symbols and thoughts. She folded her arms, lips tight. Marina. Elena touched her arm, voice firm but not unkind. Too calm for what she's really thinking, Lyra noted. Marina froze, caught mid-brush. She raised her hands, defensively, and signed, I know, I know. Elena stepped closer, lowering her voice. Lyra could hear the tension in her aura, even from below. Who is this L? Internet safety, Marina. You can't just trust someone you don't even know. Marina's thoughts flickered, sharp, mischievous, and defiant. I do know. More than I can say. She's different. Elena's hands hovered near Marina's shoulder, not touching, just close enough to assert presence. I need to know who you're sharing your time with, Elena signed. Someone must be accountable for you. Marina's smile was faint, playful, teasing. I can handle myself, she signed, brushing invisible dust from her hands. I'm not a child. Lyra felt the tension like a charge in the water. Protective humans were a new force she hadn't reckoned with. This was not prey, not curiosity, not admiration, it was bonded, fierce, unyielding. Elena studied Marina for a long moment. Then, finally, she exhaled, as if weighing danger and curiosity equally. Fine, her aura said, but I'm watching. Marina signed a quick reply, I know. And I appreciate it. But trust me, I can handle this. The moment hung between them, taut as a bowstring. Lyra's heart pulsed faster than the waves, caught between amusement and worry. She had underestimated human bonds. Perhaps she had underestimated Marina herself. Elena finally stepped back, but her watchfulness did not fade. She glanced toward the cove, lingering just a heartbeat too long. Lyra sank deeper, shadows clinging to her like armor, unseen and thoughtful. Marina picked up the blue sea glass, tucked it into her bag, and smiled faintly. You have your guardian, she thought toward the empty water. And I have mine. Lyra let a sigh escape, felt the pull of frustration and fascination twist together. Humans were dangerous in ways magic could not anticipate. And Marina, so stubborn, so clever, so unafraid, was proving more captivating than any song she had ever sung. The cove exhaled with the tide. And Lyra, ancient and patient, learned that the mind she longed to touch might have its own defenders, and that nothing she had faced beneath the waves had prepared her for this. Chapter 9. The Hunter's Shadow. Lyra had never felt so aware of the sky. Not in the way humans did. She rarely thought of air or wind, but as a shifting pressure above the water, a thread of cold, intense slicing through the familiar cadence of the sea. The cove was quiet that morning, the tide low, leaving black stones wet and glinting like spilled ink. Lyra floated just beneath the surface, eyes on the horizon. She had learned to watch Marina carefully, but now she watched everything else too. A figure appeared on the cliffs, binoculars pressed to sharp eyes. Lyra froze. Humans came to watch birds, watch waves, or occasionally fish. But this was different. Focused. Calculated. She circled closer, swimming silently beneath the rocks, probing, feeling the presence. Cold. Hard. Unyielding. A mind trained to find patterns, to predict movement, to anticipate magic. Lyra's pulse, steady in centuries of calm, faltered. Pattern of disappearances, sonic anomalies, must be near, she heard the hunters say, but in fragments, sharp as broken glass. Her heart, a muscle long dulled by time and secrecy, beat faster. Coral's warning echoed in her mind, a hunter. Not a fool. A specialist. Lyra surfaced briefly, letting a ripple travel outward, not sound but a shimmer. The figure on the cliffs moved with purpose, binoculars sweeping methodically across the rocks, across the water, across the cove. Lyra ducked beneath the waves, circling again. She could feel the hunter's calculation, the cold analysis of a predator tracking anomalies in sound, in movement, in energy. And Lyra knew instantly Marina would be in danger. The thought of her human, vibrant and unprotected, brought a heat to Lyra's chest that was dangerous, a fire she hadn't felt in decades. Curiosity was no longer enough. This was risk. This was stakes. She watched as Marina laughed lightly, unaware of the eyes trained upon her. Marina's thoughts drifted lazily. Another quiet morning. Waves are perfect today. Maybe I'll try more blue. Lyra's claws flexed beneath the surface, tail coiling like a spring. She could feel the temptation to lash out, to pull Marina into safety with song or magic. But the hunter was clever, attuned. One misstep would endanger everything. Lyra let the thought of restraint pass through her like a breath. Patience. Strategy. Observation. The figure adjusted the binoculars again, scanning the cove with precise, deliberate movements. Lyra felt the intelligence radiating off him, icy and relentless. She had read emotions before, but this predator, was disciplined, calculating, focused entirely on the anomalies that had escaped notice for so long. And now Lyra realized she was the anomaly. She sank deeper, pressing herself against the dark recess of the cove, feeling the pulse of Marina's heartbeat from afar, felt the tiny vibrations of fear and curiosity mingling in the human she protected. A plan began to form in her mind, delicate and dangerous. She would need to be clever, silent, and precise. Every move she made would have to anticipate the hunter's pattern. The cove, once her playground, had become a chessboard. And the first piece, Lyra herself, was already under threat. Above, the hunter adjusted his binoculars again, and for the first time, Lyra felt a ripple of true fear. Not for herself, not for her voice, not for her song, but for Marina. The cove seemed to tighten around her, the water pressing close, warning, whispering. The game had begun. And Lyra, ancient and clever, had never faced an opponent like this. Chapter 10. The Risk. The magic hurt. Lyra had expected pain. She knew pain intimately, but not this confusion of form. The sea resisted her, pulling at what she was as bones reshaped, tail unraveling into legs that trembled the instant they touched stone. She collapsed to her knees in the shallows, breath tearing from her chest, palms slick against wet rock. The water rejected her. The air claimed her. And then, Marina gasped. It was a small sound. Reflexive. Human. But Lyra felt it like a struck bell. And suddenly, the world opened. Marina's thoughts rushed in, unfiltered, vivid, alive. Oh wow, she's naked. Why is she naked? Don't stare. Don't look. Okay, I'm definitely looking. This is not fear. This is absolutely not fear. Lyra froze. Naked. The word meant nothing at first. She looked down. Skin. Smooth. Pale. Vulnerable. Human. No scales. No tide. No armor. Her confusion deepened as Marina's heartbeat surged fast, loud, unmistakable, and Lyra followed it instinctively, trying to understand. This is not threat response, she thought. This is not pray-fear. Then why does it feel warm? She lifted her gaze, puzzled, genuinely concerned. Did I fail? She asked quietly. Is this form incorrect? Marina's face went crimson. Her eyes shot everywhere, sky, rocks, water, anywhere but Lyra's body. Her thoughts tripped over themselves. Say something, say anything. Clothes are a thing. Why wouldn't she know? She's a siren. Are clothes optional for sirens? Stop thinking, oh my god. Lyra blinked. Optional? She shifted slightly, and Marina's pulse jumped again. Lyra stilled instantly. Oh. This was not pain. This was not fear. This was reaction. Her mind raced, centuries of pattern recognition scrambling to place the sensation. Humans respond like this when they desire, she realized slowly. But she is not touching me. She is not hunting. She is embarrassed. Your heartbeat, Lyra said gently, tilting her head. It is racing. But you are not afraid. Marina let out a breathless laugh, half mortified. No, she admitted. I am not. She slipped out of her jacket quickly and held it out, not meeting Lyra's eyes. This helps, she said. In my world. We cover skin. It's about comfort. Boundaries. Social expectations. Lyra accepted the jacket carefully, draping it over herself. The fabric felt strange, soft, enclosing, oddly grounding. Instantly, Marina's pulse eased. Lyra felt it. Fascinating. So, Lyra said slowly, processing, this is not about danger. Marina finally looked at her face, smiling now despite herself. No, she said. This is about distraction. Lyra considered that. I distract her, she thought. Without song. Without magic. Something warm and unfamiliar curled in her chest. Next time, Marina added, voice gentler now, I'll bring a t-shirt. And shorts. Teaching moment. Lyra's lips curved, faintly amused. I would welcome instruction, she said honestly. Your rules are opaque. Marina laughed, the sound easing the last of the tension between them. Behind them. Far beyond the cove, beyond the cliffs. A device chirped. Kai frowned, adjusting the dials on his equipment as unfamiliar readings spiked across the screen. Impossible, he muttered. Sonic anomalies. Localized magic surge. Sustained, intentional. Not a feeding pattern. Not a hunt. A transformation, he realized quietly. His eyes lifted toward the coastline. Found you. Back at the water's edge, Lyra shivered, not from cold, but from the faint ripple of something watching, measuring, waiting. She wrapped the jacket tighter around herself. Marina noticed. What is it? She asked softly. Lyra hesitated. Nothing, she said. Just the feeling that choice has consequences. The sea whispered behind them. And the hunt had truly begun. Chapter 11. Currents. Their meeting stopped feeling accidental. Lyra began to time the tides without meaning to. She would surface where the rocks softened into sand, where Marina's footsteps always slowed, where her thoughts, settled into something warm and humming instead of sharp and busy. Routine, Lyra learned, was a kind of magic humans trusted. Marina came most mornings now. Sometimes with coffee she didn't drink fast enough. Sometimes with notebooks she barely opened. Always with that undercurrent of thought Lyra could feel before she ever saw her. Is she here already? Don't stare. Breathe. Act normal. Lyra rose only as far as her shoulders, just as Marina preferred. It pleased Lyra more than she admitted, this small accommodation, this learning of edges. Water slid down her skin like it knew her name. You're early, Marina said one morning, though her pulse betrayed her pleasure at it. You're late, Lyra replied, head tilting. By 3 heartbeats. Marina snorted despite herself. You can't keep saying creepy things so casually. Lyra smiled, all teeth and curiosity. I can say them formally if you like. Marina laughed then, fully, openly, and the sound lodged somewhere deep in Lyra's chest, unfamiliar and bright. She filed it away with other strange sensations. The way Marina's thoughts softened when she smiled, the way her mind wandered closer when Lyra stayed quiet. They talked. About tides. About broken equipment Kai kept complaining about. About Marina's research, which Lyra listened to with sincere fascination even when she didn't understand why humans needed so many words to describe what the ocean simply was. And Marina listened too. Asked questions. Careful ones. Respectful ones. Questions that didn't prod or pry, but invited. One afternoon, Marina brought the tablet again. She hesitated before offering it, fingers brushing Lyra's, just barely. The contact sparked, small and electric. Focus. Please focus. Lyra took the device, her brow furrowing as she typed slowly, deliberately. She was becoming good at this, at translating herself into something Marina could read. You're learning fast, Marina said. Lyra glanced up. You're worth the effort. The thought that followed was a mess, heat and disbelief and something dangerously hopeful. Lyra pretended not to notice. Mostly. From farther up the beach, Elena watched. She'd known Marina long enough to recognize the signs, the lighter step, the distracted smiles, the way her attention drifted seawards even when Elena was speaking. You're glowing, Elena said one morning, arms crossed, amused. I am not, Marina replied too quickly. Elena followed her gaze. You're smiling at the ocean like it's smiling back. Marina flushed. Again. Don't be ridiculous. But Elena wasn't wrong, and somewhere beneath the waterline, Lyra felt the truth of it ripple outward. Far away, Kai's sensors flared and dimmed, confused by the steady, rhythmic pulse of magic that no longer spiked, but settled. Something ancient was adapting. Something human was changing. And neither of them quite understood yet what was being born in the space between a thought and a glance, between water and shore. Not yet. But soon. Chapter 12. What is heard? Lyra noticed the silence the way one notices a missing tide. Not absence shape. Marina's world moved differently. She watched mouths with precision. She felt vibrations through sand and bone. Her thoughts arrived to Lyra without echo, without sound, clean and sharp as light through water. One morning, when the sea was calm enough to feel like holding its breath, Lyra asked, "Why don't you hear me?" No metaphor. No softening. Marina stilled. Her thoughts scattered first, instinctive, protective. She noticed. Of course she noticed. Don't shut down. Don't make it heavy. Marina exhaled, then lifted her gaze to Lyra. An accident. 5 years ago. A pause. Boat engine exploded. I was too close. Wrong place, spectacular timing. Lyra felt the memory as Marina remembered it, not sound, but force. Pressure. White nothing. A before and an after that never quite rejoined. The doctors don't know if it'll come back, Marina continued, fingers tracing idle shapes in the sand. Nerves are unpredictable. So am I, apparently. She smiled, brittle at the edges. Lyra felt something twist low and unfamiliar inside her chest. I don't mind, Lyra said immediately. Too quickly. I mean, I hear you. Marina's head snapped up. You what? Lyra hesitated. This, she realized, was a boundary. One she had been swimming past without asking. I hear you, she repeated more carefully. Not with ears. With thought. Silence, real this time. Marina's mind went utterly still. Then. Oh. Not fear. Not anger. Recognition. Lyra felt it land between them like a dropped glass that didn't shatter but absolutely could have. You read my mind, Marina said slowly. Lyra nodded once. Only yours. Marina stared at her. Then laughed, sharp, breathless. You mean to tell me that she stopped herself, cheeks burning. Lyra tilted her head. Every. Marina groaned, dragging her hands down her face. You heard everything. Lyra considered this. You think very vividly. Marina's blush went nuclear. I am never going near the water again. I thought that. You heard that too, didn't you? Clothes. God. I thought about her being naked. Lyra blinked, startled, heat blooming across her own skin now. Oh, that's what that feeling was. Marina peeked through her fingers. Feeling? Yes. Like warmth. And confusion. And a rapid heartbeat that was not fear. Lyra frowned, genuinely puzzled. I didn't understand why it mattered. Marina dropped her hands, eyes wide. Lyra, most people don't share thoughts. Especially not private ones. Lyra absorbed this. Filed it next to modesty and clothing expectations, and why Marina looks everywhere but at me. I would never hurt you, Lyra said softly. If you want me to stop listening, I will. Marina studied her, really studied her, for a long moment. Then she smiled. Slow. Real. A little shaken. No, she said. Just warn me next time you repeat something I was only brave enough to think. Lyra smiled back, relieved and something more. I will learn, she promised. And somewhere in the quiet between them, trust settled, not loudly, not perfectly, but deep enough to matter. Chapter 13. Ripples others can see. Elena noticed first. Not the magic, she didn't have the instruments for that, but the pattern. Marina arrived home lighter, distracted, carrying the sea in her posture like a secret she didn't know how to set down. You're late again, Elena signed, eyebrow arched. Marina waved it off. She's abandoned by the door. Lost track of time. With her. Elena caught the pause. The smile Marina didn't quite suppress. You're different, Elena signed slowly. Not bad. Just altered. Marina hesitated. Then shrugged. I met someone. Elena's eyes sharpened with interest. Someone on land? Marina snorted. You don't let things go, do you? Never, Elena replied, pleased. Out by the water, Kai swore at his equipment. That's not a glitch, he muttered, watching the readings stabilize into something disturbingly rhythmic. Not a spike. Not a surge. A presence. Magic that didn't flare like a wound, but pulsed like a heartbeat. It's learning, he said under his breath. Or someone is. He marked the coordinates again. Same place. Same time. Repeated contact. Whatever was out there wasn't hiding anymore. Lyra felt it before she understood it. The water grew, attentive. Currents whispering in ways they hadn't before. The sea wasn't alarmed, but it was aware. You're not alone today, Lyra said when Marina arrived, her shoulders just breaking the surface. Marina frowned. I came by myself. Lyra shook her head slightly. Not like that. Marina's thoughts tightened. Is this about the sensors? The boats? The feeling I've had lately. Lyra looked at her, something ancient and protective stirring. Others are listening now. Not like me. Not kindly. Marina swallowed. Are we in danger? Lyra didn't answer immediately. That, somehow, was answer enough. Not yet, Lyra said finally. But the sea doesn't keep secrets forever. A wave rolled in, gentle but insistent, soaking Marina's feet as if to underline the point. Marina met Lyra's gaze, steady, resolved. Then we're careful. Together. Lyra smiled, fierce and quiet. Together. Behind them, unseen, the world adjusted its grip. The ripple had reached shore. Chapter 14. The weight of knowing. Elena didn't ask again. She watched. Marina moved differently now, less guarded, more awake. She laughed without sound but with her whole body. She forgot her phone. She forgot herself in a way Elena had only ever seen once before, years ago, right before the accident. Elena signed one evening, casual but sharp. You're glowing. That usually means trouble. Marina smiled, distracted. Or happiness. Elena didn't smile back. Those two are frequent accomplices. Out at the cove, Lyra was learning restraint and hating it. Every instinct screamed to surface when Marina arrived. To rise, to close distance, to touch. But she stayed lower now, only head and shoulders visible, eyes always scanning the horizon first. She had started to notice things. Boats that passed twice. Footprints where there hadn't been any before. A metallic taste in the water that didn't belong to tides or storms. He's mapping us, Lyra thought. Marina felt the shift before Lyra spoke. What's wrong? Lyra hesitated. then chose honesty. Someone is looking for me. Marina's heart rate jumped fast, sharp. Not fear. Anger. Because of me? Marina thought, the question cutting through her mind before she could stop it. Lyra flinched. No. Because of what I am. Marina exhaled, hands curling into fists. That's worse. On the cliffs above, Kai adjusted his scope. There, he murmured. 2 figures this time. 1 human. 1 wrong. Not shimmering. Not dramatic. Just subtly incorrect, like a note half a tone off. Contact confirmed. He lowered the scope, already planning. Lyra felt it then, cold, focused attention sliding across her skin like a blade testing sharpness. We have to be careful, Lyra said. I don't want to disappear from your world. Marina's thoughts were immediate and fierce. You don't get to decide that alone. She signed it too, hands steady despite the tremor in her chest. Then don't. Stay. We'll figure it out. Lyra reached out, stopping herself an inch from Marina's wrist. The restraint hurt more than the magic ever had. You don't know what it costs, Lyra said softly. Marina met her gaze, unflinching. Then let me choose the price. From the cliffs, Kai smiled grimly. They always do, he said. Right before the fall. Chapter 15. Eyes that know. Elena didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Enough, she signed, slow and unmistakable. I want to meet her. Marina froze halfway through tying her hair. No, Elena interrupted, gentler now but immovable. You don't get to vanish into joy and expect me not to worry. Whoever she is, she matters to you. That means she meets me. Marina swallowed. Her thoughts skittered. This is a terrible idea. This is inevitable. She's different, Marina signed finally. Elena arched a brow. That's never stopped you before. At the cove, Marina arrived with a folded bundle clutched to her chest. Lyra surfaced cautiously, shoulders slick with seawater, eyes immediately searching Marina's face. She sensed the tension before it was spoken. Marina's thoughts tight-coiled. What is it? Lyra asked. Marina held up the bundle. Clothes. Lyra blinked. Again? Yes, Marina thought dryly. Because cafes have opinions. Aloud, she signed. Someone important wants to meet you. Lyra's pulse spiked, not fear, but calculation. Important like, Hunter important? No, Marina signed quickly. Family important. That was somehow worse. Lyra took the clothes with careful fingers, a soft t-shirt, loose shorts, nothing threatening. Nothing hers. I don't understand why fabric makes humans calmer, Lyra said. Marina's mouth curved. You're about to find out. The cafe smelled like roasted beans in safety. Too open. Too loud. Lyra hated it instantly. She walked beside Marina, movements precise, grace muted but unmistakable. Every human eye flicked toward her without knowing why. Elena stood as they approached. This was the moment. Lyra felt Marina's heartbeat accelerate, not fear, not desire. Hope, sharp and fragile. This is Lyra, Marina signed. Elena studied her, not unkindly. Thoroughly. So, Elena said aloud, then signed deliberately, you're the reason. Lyra inclined her head. I didn't mean to be. Elena snorted. No one ever does. They sat. Tension threaded the table like wire. Elena leaned forward. You make her happy. Yes, Lyra said without hesitation. And you're not passing through? Lyra glanced at Marina, felt the echo of her thoughts. Please don't lie. I don't know how to pass through, Lyra answered honestly. I only know how to stay. Or leave forever. Elena stiffened. Behind the counter, a man lowered his cup. Kai had been watching the reflections in the glass, the way light bent subtly around Lyra's silhouette. Not dramatic. Just wrong enough. There. Human disguise confirmed. Subject within reach. He smiled faintly and reached for his phone. Lyra felt it then, a pressure behind her eyes, the sensation of being named by someone who shouldn't know her name. She looked up. Across the cafe, a man met her gaze. Recognition sparked. Cold. Exact. Lyra's breath caught. Marina followed her gaze. What? Lyra's hand closed around Marina's wrist, just tight enough. Finish your coffee, Lyra murmured. Slowly. Elena saw it then, the shift, the danger, the way Lyra's body went still like a predator hearing a trap arm. Elena sighed, sharp and urgent. Who is that? Lyra didn't look away. The reason we can't pretend anymore. The bell above the cafe door chimed. And the world leaned closer. Chapter 16. Where the Water Answers. The sea was restless that afternoon. Not angry. Alert. Lyra felt it first, the subtle tightening of currents, the way the water leaned inward, listening. She rose just enough for Marina to see her eyes, dark and intent. He followed us, Lyra said quietly. Marina's stomach dropped. She turned, scanning the cliffs instinctively. There. A figure where no one ever lingered. Too still. Too deliberate. Kai adjusted the device strapped to his forearm, cables humming faintly. The net shimmered into being soundless, vibrating at a frequency designed to choke magic at its source. Lyra gasped as it brushed the water. Not pain. Silencing. Her song faltered, the sea shuddering in confusion. Marina felt it, not sound, but pressure, like a hand squeezing her chest. She followed the line of tension to the device in Kai's hands. Oh, she breathed. That's what he's doing. She didn't think. She moved. Lyra, stay back, Marina signed sharply, already scrambling over wet stone. Kai shouted then, surprise breaking his composure. Get away from the water. Marina didn't slow. Her thoughts were ablaze now, impossible to miss. No. Not her. Not again. I don't lose another thing I love. She grabbed a loose rock, heavy, jagged, and swung with everything she had. The impact was brutal. Metal screamed. The device shattered, feedback roaring through the cliffside like a living thing. Lyra cried out, the sound tearing free of her in a raw, uncontrolled wave that made the sea rear violently. Kai staggered back, hands flying to his ears. Shit, he gasped, footing slipping on wet stone. The cliff gave way beneath him. It happened too fast. A sharp crack. A sickening thud. Silence. Marina froze. Then she screamed, body folding as she scrambled toward the edge, hands shaking, breath tearing out of her in short, panicked bursts. No, 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 no. Elena arrived at a run, skidding to her knees beside Marina. Marina, she signed urgently, gripping her shoulders. Look at me. Breathe. Marina pointed, wild-eyed, tears spilling. He fell. I. Elena followed her gaze. Saw the limp body below. Her face paled, but she stayed steady. You didn't push him. You stopped him. Stay with me. The water surged. Lyra rose fully then. Not hiding. Not cautious. She stepped from the sea, water streaming down skin that shimmered faintly in the dying light, eyes ancient and furious and afraid all at once. Elena's breath caught. Oh, she whispered. Everything made sense. Lyra crossed the stones and knelt beside Marina, hands gentle but urgent, forehead resting against Marina's temple. I'm here, Lyra said, voice trembling. You're safe. He can't hurt you. Marina collapsed into her, heart hammering so hard Lyra could feel it through bone and skin. Elena watched them, really watched, and something inside her softened, rearranged. You're not a stranger, Elena said quietly. You're her person. Lyra looked up, eyes shining. I chose her. Elena nodded once. Then you protect her. Lyra's mouth curved, fierce and tender. With everything I am. Behind them, the sea calmed. The snap had happened. And nothing would ever return to what it was before. Chapter 17. The Council's Echo. Deep beneath the waves, Cora's palace trembled, not from storm or tide, but from something she hadn't felt in decades. A pulse. Strong, deliberate. Alive. Lyra had surfed countless currents, outrun hunters, bent minds and waves, but this resonance shivered through the very bones of the ocean. She felt it first, a tug, insistent, calling her back. Then the council appeared, their forms rising like shadows through the filtered light, eyes sharp, mouths tight, fins twitching in judgment. Lyra, Cora's voice cracked through the water, a mixture of reproach and curiosity. What have you done? Lyra took a breath, struggling against instinct to hide. Her human legs trembled under her in the shallows above, but she steadied herself. I have to tell them. Truth first. Marina, kneeling at the edge of the water, watched silently, heartbeat thundering. Lyra began, voice wavering. I could not stop him. He tried to trap me. Marina, she turned to the human, eyes earnest. She acted. She protected me. Coral's claws clicked against the stone in warning. The human. Yes, Lyra said firmly. She reached the device. She shattered it, and he fell. He is alive, I think. But it could have been worse. Cora's gaze sharpened. Then she paused. A long memory unfurled. Humans who hear, yes. They remember differently. She can hear? Cora's voice was a hiss. Lyra nodded. Not sound, but thought. She understands what is mine. She felt the song when I faltered. Cora's eyes darkened. The song, it paralyzes. It protects. But it also heals. It has not been attempted in centuries. Any mistake, and she flexed a clawed hand. The human brain is delicate. Damaged irreparably in a single note. You want this human to hear. Lyra swallowed. The truth cut through her pride. She had never needed precision like this. Never needed a human like this. Yes, I want to, she whispered, turning to Marina. Can attempt it? I can try to undo the damage. They say it might help. But it could hurt you further. I don't know if I can do it safely. Marina reached for her hands, still trembling from the cliffside chaos. I trust you, she signed, voice steady in thought. If anyone can, it's you. We do it together. I'll listen. I'll help. Lyra's chest ached. Not from fear, but from wanting to protect. From needing Marina to survive, to thrive, to be hers. The council waited, silent, ancient, and heavy. Cora leaned closer. Decide wisely. One wrong vibration, one miscalculated tone, her gaze softened, just slightly. And she will not be the same. Not again. Lyra closed her eyes. She reached out with her magic first, letting the ocean still and shape around her like a cradle. She let Marina's presence steady her, heartbeat to heartbeat. I will try, Lyra said finally. And I will not let go of her. Marina exhaled slowly, small but steady. I trust you. Cora nodded, approving and wary. Then do it. Carefully. Let your song heal, not harm. Remember what you are and what she is capable of surviving. Lyra opened her eyes. They shone with a strange fire, both human and siren. Marina, she whispered, voice trembling, you must stay still. Trust the currents. Trust me. Marina nodded, letting herself sink slightly into the tide, hands clasped around Lyra's. And the first note left Lyra's lips, not loud, not showy. Pure, precise, magical in the way only centuries of siren song could make it. The water hummed. The cliffs trembled. Somewhere above, gulls scattered. But Lyra's focus was absolute. This one human, this one heartbeat, this one choice. And Marina felt it, pure vibration, delicate and steady, threading through her skull, smoothing the chaos of broken nerves, stitching the damage with song and intent. Then a snap, and for the first time in 5 years, sound returned, not fully, not perfectly, but enough to bring tears that were heard, not just felt. She whispered, voice cracking but real, Lyra. Lyra smiled through salt and sweat. I'm here, she said. Always. And beneath the water, Cora exhaled, the council silent, the ocean holding its breath. The impossible had been attempted. And somehow survived. Chapter 18. The World Returns. The morning sun struck the cove in shards of gold across the waves. The water glittered, alive with motion, as if it, too, had taken a deep, cleansing breath. For Marina, the world was suddenly full. Too full. Sounds she hadn't heard in 5 years spilled over her, gulls squabbling, water lapping against stone, distant boat engines, even the faint whisper of wind through sand. Her head spun with the richness, the overwhelm of all that had been missing. Lyra stayed just beneath the surface, watching. Not out of caution, but out of awe. Marina's hands moved to her ears instinctively, touching the shells gently, marveling, laughing softly as she realized the world could speak again. "It's so loud," Marina whispered, voice unsteady, odd. "I can hear it too," Lyra murmured, voice cracking. She surfaced slowly, water streaming down her shoulders, hair plastered to her skin. "And you're brave enough to let it all in." Marina smiled through tears, brushing water from her cheeks. "You didn't even have to sing, did you?" I just felt it." Lyra's heart pinched. She hovered close, cautious, still nervous around touch even after centuries of confidence underwater. She extended a hand, brushing fingertips against Marina's wrist. "I never stopped listening," she said softly. Marina looked down at their joined hands, the contact grounding her in this world that had been silent for so long. "I know," she said, a quiet tremor of trust threading through her words. "Even when I couldn't hear you, you understood me." Across the rocks, Elena approached, careful, gentle. The constant presence, the ever-watchful protector, the friend who had demanded truth and always kept Marina safe. She studied Lyra for the first time without suspicion. Not judgment. Not wariness. Only understanding. "You didn't replace me," Elena said quietly, almost to herself, signing to Marina. "You softened it. You just added something else." Marina laughed softly, leaning slightly into Lyra's shoulder. "She's permanent," Marina said. "And terrifyingly, undeniably here." Lyra tilted her head, catching the thought in full. She allowed herself a small smile. "Even now, I hear everything, and I don't want to stop. I want to understand her completely, and I will. But we are equal here. I am not above her." Marina turned to her, eyes sparkling with newfound sound, new sensation. "You have to promise me," she said, voice small, careful. "Even if you can hear everything, you don't judge me. I'm learning to live in a loud world again." "It's a lot." Lyra nodded, mindful, careful. "I won't judge. I'll learn with you. Every step. Even the broken words, the missteps. I'll hear it all, yes, but only with care. Only with you." Marina reached out then, brushing her hand across Lyra's cheek, tentative but electric. "Even the mistakes?" "Especially the mistakes," Lyra said. A faint smile curved across her lips, tinged with salt and water and something ancient. "They make you human. And I want you whole. Just as you are." Elena watched the exchange, silent, and allowed herself a small, soft smile. The tension of the last days eased, replaced with a warmth she hadn't realized she'd been missing. Not replaced, just reshaped. The ocean shimmered behind them. The gulls called. The rocks were warm underfoot. Marina laughed aloud at a sound she hadn't fully recognized before, the clarity of it startling and thrilling. Lyra's mind hummed with the vibration of every thought Marina allowed to reach her, every laugh, every wonder, every new word. Not dominance. Not control. Connection. And for the first time in centuries, Lyra felt something new, equal, grounded, shared. The world had returned, loud and untamed. And they were ready. Chapter 19. Learning to be human. The morning sunlight spilled across Marina's small kitchen, catching dust motes like tiny stars suspended in the warm air. Lyra leaned against the doorframe, still damp from the cove, water dripping onto the floor in tiny rivulets that shimmered briefly before soaking in. Marina laughed softly at her expression, half awe, half confusion, watching Lyra navigate appliances like they were strange artifacts rather than ordinary tools of life. "Coffee," Marina said, reaching for the kettle. "It's human fuel." Lyra tilted her head, examining it. "Fuel?" she asked, tilting the word on her tongue like a melody she hadn't quite heard before. Marina grinned, gesturing toward the small cup. "Yes. Warm. Bitter. Not lethal, but necessary." Lyra accepted it cautiously, fingertips brushing Marina's hand when she handed her the cup. A tiny spark, soft, electric, ran through her, and Lyra's eyes widened at the new sensation. "You feel differently than water," Lyra said, voice low, reverent. "Your touch, it lingers." Marina blushed, but leaned closer anyway. "Humans, we're tactile." We like to feel. And kiss. A lot. She pressed a small, teasing peck to Lyra's cheek, then leaned back, watching the surprise in Lyra's eyes. Lyra's mind word. Kiss? Cheek? Not a lure, not a trap. Just affection? Yes, Marina said, catching the thought. Affection. Gentle. Repeated. We mate slowly. Carefully. Not immediate. Lyra's breath hitched. Slowly? Carefully. Marina stepped closer, brushing her fingers over Lyra's wet hair, ruffling it just enough to make her shiver. It's about discovery. About touch, about learning each other. And laughter. Lyra blinked, absorbing the lesson. She had centuries of song, centuries of pull, centuries of immediate, magnetic attraction, but humans layered intimacy over time. Over softness. Over consent. She let her hand hover, brushing fingertips along Marina's arm lightly, feeling warmth radiate into her. Like this? Marina's laugh was soft, breathless. Yes, exactly like that. And kiss me now if you want. But slowly. Lyra hesitated. Every instinct screamed magnetic, unstoppable, draw her in. Instead, she leaned carefully, lips brushing Marina's for a feather-light first contact. Pulling back just slightly, watching, learning, mirroring the human rhythm. Marina's hands rested on Lyra's shoulders, steadying her, guiding the motion. Again, she whispered, voice soft but commanding, feel, don't just take. Lyra's lips met hers again, longer, a rhythm forming in tiny sparks. She felt the difference, the thrill of closeness without conquest, the sharing instead of seizing. Hours passed like this. Teasing touches, lingering kisses, laughter echoing through the kitchen. Lyra learned to thread her centuries of seduction into gentle, human playfulness, each caress and brush of lips a discovery rather than a command. By the time the evening sun spilled gold over the cove beyond the window, Lyra realized something profound. Human mating was not about power, nor about immediate domination. It was about surrendering even as you remain fully yourself. She rested her forehead against Marina's, breathing the same air, tasting faint salt on her lips. I never imagined it could be like this, Lyra whispered. Marina smiled, hands clasping Lyra's. This is us. Human. Sirens. Together. Slowly. Lyra let herself melt into it, letting laughter and touch and kisses become the song that didn't need water to exist. The ocean hummed faintly outside, but here in warmth, in sunlight, in laughter, Lyra discovered a magic older than siren song, the intimacy of hearts meeting on even ground. Chapter 20. The first night of fire and sound. The bedroom was dim, the golden wash of the moon filtering through gauzy curtains. Salt still clung to Lyra's skin from the evening dip, water drying into her hair in damp, dark curls. She paced, fingers brushing over the bedspread, restless with centuries of instinct. She began, voice low, her mind buzzing with predatory precision. I should take. Marina's hand shot out, pressing against Lyra's chest, stopping her. No, she whispered, eyes half-lidded, voice a soft, trembling note that made Lyra's centuries-old pulse stumble. Not like that. Not now. Slowly. You don't understand yet. Lyra blinked, surprised, off balance. Dominance had always been hers by song, by magic, by presence. Humans? Not like this. Not Marina. Marina guided her gently to the bed, hands featherlight, tracing along Lyra's shoulders and spine. Feel me. Not control me, she said, voice low, intimate, almost vibrating in the air. The first touch, simple, deliberate, soft, made Lyra's chest tighten. She felt warmth radiate from every nerve ending, a language she hadn't known existed, pleasure in patience, surrender in connection. Lyra tried again, leaning in, but Marina caught her hands, pressing them gently against her own. Slow. One touch at a time. Trust me, she whispered, voice rising with a delicate rhythm, punctuated by soft gasps that made Lyra dizzy in ways her magic never had. Hour by hour, breath by breath, Marina taught her the art of human intimacy. Every kiss was a question, every sigh a punctuation, every shiver a stanza in a song that required no magic to resonate. Lyra's hands trembled as she learned to follow, not lead, to linger, not seize. Do you feel? Marina's voice was almost a moan now, the sound a jagged, beautiful thread through Lyra's mind. Lyra nodded, eyes wide, lips trembling. I never knew. You never knew because it's not about power, Marina said, slowly letting her fingers trace Lyra's jaw, down her neck, across her shoulders. It's about discovery. Pain, only to heighten pleasure, never to harm. We build it together. Each touch, each gasp, each human sound, the shiver, the laugh, the sharp intake of breath, became a tide pulling Lyra further into humanity. She felt it, every vibration, threaded through her centuries of magic, grounding her, humbling her, awakening her in ways the sea never had. Lyra's lips traced Marina's collarbone over and over, learning to map the sounds, the soft sighs, the whispered encouragement, the tiny moans that weren't music, yet more magical than any song she had ever sung. Marina guided, coaxed, teased, and then pressed her mouth to Lyra's, slow, insistent, claiming neither dominance nor surrender, but partnership. Lyra melted into it, letting herself unravel, layer by layer, learning the cadence of human intimacy. Hours blurred. The moon rose high, then sank low. The bedroom became a sanctuary of sound and touch, of whispered names and quiet laughter, of learning the human heartbeat one rhythm at a time. By dawn, Lyra lay beside Marina, chest to chest, water still in her hair, flushed with an entirely new understanding. She had tried to dominate. She had been humbled. And in the surrender, she had discovered pleasure deeper than the pull of her siren song, richer than the currents she had ever commanded. Marina's hand rested lightly against her side, eyes closed, small breaths rising and falling like the tide. Lyra felt every nuance, every warmth, every tiny sound, and understood. Humans taught patience through pleasure, and, through it, she had learned what it meant to love with restraint, with reverence, with sound. The ocean hummed faintly outside the window. Lyra smiled, soft, tender, and entirely human. I understand now, she whispered, brushing a damp curl from Marina's face. Your world. Your way. I will follow. Marina opened one eye, smiled softly, and whispered back, good. Because I want you here, in every way. And Lyra knew, finally, that surrendering wasn't weakness. It was a song older than herself, a melody she would carry for the rest of her life. Epilogue. Everyday magic. The sun had just begun its slow climb over the cove, spilling gold across wet rocks and shimmering water. Lyra stumbled over a tide pool, arms flailing, hair plastered to her face, and Marina laughed, a rich, full sound that made the sea itself seem to lean closer. Careful, Marina called, catching her before she toppled entirely. You're supposed to be graceful. Lyra blinked, water dripping from her hair, cheeks flushed, and smiled sheepishly. Grace is overrated, she murmured, voice low, eyes glinting with mischief. I prefer eager. Marina rolled her eyes, still laughing, but her hands lingered on Lyra's shoulders, steadying her. Eager, yes. But clumsy, sometimes painful. Lyra leaned forward, brushing her lips against Marina's temple, soft, teasing, and whispered, pain can be delightful. Then she grinned, tugging Marina toward the shallows, where the water lapped playfully at their knees. Days unfolded like this, stolen kisses over coffee at the cafe, fingertips brushing under tables, hands finding each other in subtle, electric ways, laughter echoing along the cliffs as Lyra tested her balance in the tide, always falling into Marina's steady arms. She was addicted to it. To Marina. To this. To the mundane magic of touch, human rhythm, and intimacy untainted by centuries of siren instinct. Clumsy, eager, endlessly curious, Lyra discovered she didn't want to stop, ever. Elena watched from the edge of the beach one afternoon, coffee in hand, eyes narrowing softly behind sunglasses. Her friend, once the fragile, brilliant human she had spent years guarding, was no longer a damsel or a target. She was luminous, strong, utterly alive, and entirely unafraid to embrace danger, love, or desire. She caught a flash of Marina laughing, throwing her head back as Lyra pressed a kiss to her neck, water dripping from her hair, wet clothes clinging. Lyra's hands moved with surprising gentleness, a tender eagerness that made Elena's chest tighten, not with worry, but with awe. She's not just protecting her anymore. She's becoming part of her world, learning it, respecting it, cherishing it. Elena smiled softly, letting herself stay a quiet observer, knowing that her role had shifted. The danger she had once feared was gone. In its place was intimacy, trust, and the soft, endless hum of two people discovering each other daily. Back on the rocks, Marina teased Lyra, tugging her into a clumsy embrace that left them both laughing and soaked from head to toe. Lyra kissed her again, teeth catching just briefly, breath warm, eyes sparkling. "I never thought humans could teach me so much," Lyra murmured, voice low, almost reverent. Touch, patience, sound, laughter. Marina leaned into her, brushing damp hair from Lyra's face. "And you," she whispered, "teach me magic every day. Not the old kind, the living kind, the one we make together." Lyra's grin was mischievous, eager, full of clumsy wonder. "Then I'll keep teaching. And learning. Every day. Every kiss. Every laugh. Everything." The tide whispered around them, gulls squawked in distant harmony, and for the first time in centuries, Lyra didn't need to sing. She didn't need to lure. She only needed to be here, in the messy, joyful, infinite rhythm of Marina's human world. And she never wanted to leave it. Elena sipped her coffee again, eyes softening further. The cove, the humans, the sirens, they had all changed. And she realized that love didn't weaken anyone. It strengthened them, quietly, insistently, beautifully. Lyra and Marina laughed again, water dripping, fingers intertwined, hearts beating together in a language older than song, deeper than magic. The world was loud, chaotic, and perfect. And for the first time, centuries of siren life had found its home on land, in laughter, in touch, and in the infinite, tender pull of human intimacy. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe and like this video and follow me for more stories. You are always welcome here, and leave me a comment or a thumbs up, just letting me know if you like the story and would like more, or is there perhaps an idea that you would like to share or let me write for you.